Okay, so this is the second video lecture for the series of video lectures for the chapter number 12, which is valuing mortgage-backed and asset-backed securities. In this video, we will be discussing about Monte Carlo simulation and option-adjusted spread. In chapter 9, if you remember, we discussed one model that is used to value callable agency debentures or bonds and corporate bonds, which we call the binomial model, right? Remember the binomial model and the binomial tree. This valuation model accommodates securities in which the decision to exercise a call option is not dependent on how interest rate evolve over time. That is, the decision of an issuer to call a bond will depend on the level of the rate at which the issue can be refunded relative to issuer's coupon rate and not the path interest rates took to the get to the debt rate. So, for example, the binomial model depends on what is the interest rates today compared to the coupon of the bond, not that how interest rates reached to today's level over the time, right? So we have not talked about the path of the interest rates in binomial model, but actually the level of the interest rate. But in contrast, there are fixed income securities and especially the derivative instruments for which the periodic cash flows are interest rate path dependent. This means that the cash flow received in one period is determined not only by the current interest rate level, yet also the path that interest rate took to get to the current level. For example, in case of pass-through securities, prepayments are interest rate path dependent. Why? Because this month's prepayment rate depends on whether there have been prior opportunities to refinance since the underlying mortgage were originated. This phenomena is referred to as prepayment burnout. Remember, when we discussed the mortgage-backed securities, we discussed this phenomenon that the interest rate paths which interest rates took is more important for the prepayment as compared to the current level. Pools of pass-through are used as a collateral for the creation of CMOs. Consequently, there are typically two sources of path dependency in a CMO tranche's cash flow. First, the collateral prepayment or the path dependent as discussed above. Second, the cash flow to be received in the current month by CMO tranche depends on outstanding balance of the other tranches in the deal. Thus, we need the history of prepayment to calculate these balances. So in the case of CMO, not only it's the interest rate part dependent as the underlying assets are passed through, but also the CMO tranches cash flow received depends on balances of other tranches as well. So you need a complete history of the prepayments. Conceptually, the valuation of agency pass-through using Monte Carlo simulation model is very simple. In practice, however, it is very complex. The simulation involves generating a set of cash flows based on a simulated future mortgage refinancing rate, which in turn implies simulated prepayment rates. We will be discussing the theoretical model. We will not be going into the practical or empirical complexities. So you are not required to actually perform the Monte Carlo simulation. You just need to understand what it is and how it is done. Valuation modeling for agency CMOs is similar to valuation of modeling of the pass-throughs, although the difficulties are amplified because the issuer has distributed both the prepayment risk and the interest rate risk into the different tranches. The sensitivity of pass-through comprising the collateral to those two risks is not transmitted equally to every tranche. Some of the tranches wind up more sensitive to prepayment risk and interest rate risk, as we already discussed, while some of them are less sensitive. Okay, so the first step is simulating interest rate paths. In the Monte Carlo simulation, the first step is to simulating the simulating of interest rate paths and cash flows. So to generate these random interest rate paths, the typical model used by Wall Street firms and commercial vendors takes an input today's term structure of interest rate and a volatility assumption. So they take term structure of today's term structure and the volatility. The term structure of interest rates is the theoretical spot rate, as we already discussed, implied by today's treasury securities. Some dealers and vendors of analytical systems use the LIBOR curve instead of treasury curve, or give the user a choice to use from the either. The reason is that some investors are interested in spreads they can earn relative to their funding cost. Remember, we discussed this as a funding cost related to funding cost, I think in chapter number 6 and 4. And LIBOR for many investors is better proxy for that funding cost. Every dealer and vendor of analytical system implies an interest rate model. The interest rate model implied by most dealers and vendors are similar. However, one input to all interest rate model is the interest rate volatility assumption, and it is that assumption that varies by dealer and vendor, as will illustrate later in this chapter, and also we have already discussed as well for the option embedded securities. Today, many dealers and vendors do not use one volatility number for the yield of all maturities of the yield curve. Instead, they use either short-long yield volatility or term structure of yield volatility. So they do not use a single volatility measure. What they do is they have a volatility specified by maturities up to a certain number of years, which they call a short-term volatility. So, for example, volatility is different for 2, 3, or 4 years, and a different yield volatility for the longer maturity. The short yield volatility obviously is assumed to be greater than the long yield volatility. A term structure of yield volatilities means that a yield volatility is assumed for each maturity. So the each maturity, the volatility of yield is different as compared to the using a single number for all maturities. However, there is nothing that we have explained thus far, right? So that's the background. But what we are talking now is what assures that these prices or values obtained from the using these models, this Monte Carlo simulation is arbitrage free, right? Because if you remember in chapter number 9, when we use binomial tree, we said by design is constructed to be arbitrage free. That is, if any of the underrun issues that were used to construct the binomial interest rate tree are valued using the tree, the model would produce the value of the underrun issue equal to the market value. There is nothing we described so far about the arbitrage free thing about the Monte Carlo simulation. So what assurance is there that if underrun security issue is valued using Monte Carlo simulation model, it will be arbitrage free. That is, what assurance is there that the value produced by the model will be equal to the market price? The answer is actually nothing. What the model builder must do is adjust the interest rate path so that the model produces the correct values for underrun issues. A discussion of this adjustment process is not important. Just you need to just understand is that you need to adjust the interest rate path in order to get the market price. Again, we are back to the trial and error thing. So you have to adjust the interest rates until you find the market prices, right? And then you can assume that it's the arbitrage free price. The key point here is that no such adjustment is necessary in the binomial model for valuing corporate and agency bonds with embedded options, because the tree is built on the arbitrage free. To be arbitrage free, in the case of Monte Carlo simulation, the builder must make an arbitrary adjustment to the interest rate path to get the model to be arbitrage free. The simulation works by generating many scenarios of future interest rate paths, is just explained. The raw interest rate paths that are simulated must be adjusted so as to make the model generate arbitrage-free values for whatever benchmark interest rates are used, typically the on-the-run Treasury issues. So in the remainder of this chapter, when we refer to the interest rate paths, is understood that they are adjusted interest rate paths, adjusted to be arbitrage-free. In each month, the scenario, which is the path, a monthly interest rate and a mortgage refinancing rate are generated. The monthly interest rates are used to discount the projected cash flows in the scenario. The mortgage refinance rate is needed to determine the cash flows because it represents the opportunity cost of the borrower. If refinancing rates are high relative to the borrower's original copyright, the borrower will have less incentive to refinance or even a disincentive. However, if the refinancing rate is lower relative to the borrower's original coupon rate, the borrower will have a high or a good reason to refinance. The prepayments projected by feeding the refinancing rate and loan characteristics into prepayment model, giving the projected cash flows, the cash flows along an interest rate path can be determined. So as you see in this exhibit, so this is the adjusted simulated path of arbitrage-free 1 month Treasury rates. So you will perform n number of interest rate paths, each for 360 months, right? So 360 months, which is the 30 years. So you will estimate these for all of this. Okay. To make this more concrete, let's discuss it with the help of these. Okay. Exhibit 1 shows n adjusted simulated interest rate path scenarios, as you can see, from 1 to n. Adjusted to be arbitrage free. Each scenario consists of a path of 360 simulated 1 month future interest rates. So these are future interest rate. The number of paths generated is based on the well-known principle in simulation, which will not be discussed here. So our first assumption here is make the exhibit 1 volatility is the volatility of interest rates. So what assumption we took here is the volatility of interest rates. If you go to the exhibit 2, which is re-reported here, it shows the path of the simulated mortgage financing rates corresponding to the scenarios shown in exhibit 1. In going from exhibit 1 to exhibit 2, an assumption must be made about the relationship between the Treasury rates and refinance rate. The assumption is that there is a constant spread relationship between the rate that the borrower will use to determine whether or not to refinance and the 1 month interest rate shown in exhibit 1. For example, for 30-year mortgage loan, model builders use a 10-year Treasury rate as a proxy for refinancing rate. Giving the mortgage refinancing rate, the cash flow on the each interest part can be then generated. So these are simulated paths for mortgage refinancing rates. So these are the interest rates, 1 month future interest rate, and these are the mortgage refinance rates. And these are computed as in relation to this exhibit 1. So given these two things, we can calculate the cash flows on each interest rate path. For agency mortgage-backed security, this requires a prepayment model. For asset-backed securities and non-agency mortgage-backed securities, this requires both a prepayment model and a model for default and recoveries, as we already mentioned. So our next assumption is that the output of the models, prepayment, default, and recoveries are correct. The resulting cash flows are depicted in this exhibit, right? So you can see that these are the cash flow which are based on the assumptions of the prepayment for the agency mortgage-backed securities and prepayment as well as default and recovery for non-mortgage backed and asset-backed securities. Now, how to calculate the present value of interest rate path? Giving the cash flows on an interest rate path, the past present value can be easily calculated. The discount rate for determining the present value is the simulated spot rate for each month on the interest rate path plus an appropriate spread. The spot rate can be determined from the simulated future monthly rates. The relationship is the same as we discussed previously. So if ZTN is the spot rate, it can be calculated from the future rates in this way. 1 plus F1N, 1 plus F2N until 1 plus Ftn power 1 by T minus 1. Consequently, the interest rate path for the simulated future 1 month rate can be converted to the interest rate path for the simulated monthly spot rate is shown here. So these are the monthly spot rate calculated from the exhibit 1, the 1 month future rates, right? The logic or the relationship is same, which we discussed in calculating the spot rates from the future rates from the spot rates. Therefore, the present value then can be calculated as follows: 1 plus the appropriate spot rate, the appropriate cash flow divided by 1 plus the appropriate spot rate plus K raised to the power T. The spread K refers the risk that the investor feels associated with the realizing the cash flows. The present value for the path N is the sum of the present values of the cash flows for each month on path N. So this will be performed for each month, and then we have to add all of these path cash flows, and we will get the present value. Now, determining the theoretical value. The present value of given interest rate path can be thought of as the theoretical value of the pass-through if the path was actually realized. The theoretical value of pass-through can be determined by calculating the average of the theoretical values of all interest rate paths, right? So this will be performed for one path. So here, when I said path, I mean, so these are the cash flows. We will perform the same analysis for each of these paths. And finally, in order to get the value, what we have to do is the theoretical value of pass-through can be determined by calculating the average of the theoretical values of all. So we just have to add the theoretical values and divide it by N. The procedure for valuing pass-through is also followed for a CMO tranche. The cash flow for each month on each interest rate path is found according to the principal prepayment and interest distribution rules of the deal. So it's first we find out the present value for each month. Then we add all those present values to calculate the value for each path, and then we average out the values for paths to calculate the theoretical value. Another important thing is the selection of number of interest rates paths. The number of interest rates path needed to value a security is very important. The number of interest rates paths determine how good the estimated is, not relative to the truth, but relative to the model used. The more paths we use, the more the average value produced tends to converge. Most models imply some or other form of using this. So I really do not want to go into the detail. Let's switch to the next video, in which I will explain the option adjusted spread as well as the examples of or the illustrations of valuing securities.